Hello guys, welcome to another episode of on MC Talkies. I'm your host Shubham and I'm my co-host Vidisha. We'll be talking about expeditions and today we have on our panel Ratnesh Ji and Keval Kakka, the two Everest summiters, and our own BMSC MC alumni Pratiksha. Or like many of you won't recognize her, so you can remember her as Prats. Easy to recognize her. So, Ratnesh ji is the first official mountaineer and Everest summiter from Madhya Pradesh. It is because of him that for the first time any country's national anthem was sung at the top of the world. A very proud moment for every Indian hearing Jana Gana Mana at the top of the world. He has climbed many peaks like the Mount, Mount Lennon, Mount Diotippa, and many others. He participated in ice climbing championship in Italy. Uh, he made a Guinness World Record for the longest continuous ride standing on the seat of a motorcycle for 32.3 kilometers. And that's the reason why he's also known as the smart raider of the Indo city. And he also has many NGOs and foundations under him. And one foundation, such as Ratnesh Pandey Foundation, under which he completed a recent project called Project Josh with 25 transgenders who, along with them, he climbed Mount Friendship, and he is the first one ever to do so. Welcome, Ratnesh ji. It's a pleasure having you.
So,
Uh,
first of all, please.
please go on.
First of all, thank you so much, Shubham ji and Vidisha ji, for inviting me for this beautiful talk show. And for sure, I'm always getting very much delighted when I'm with I'm sharing the panel with the marvelous mountaineers like Keval, Kakka, and Prarthana. Like these guys are inspiration for many of us. So again, it's a very joyful moment for me. And yes, I'm into mountaineering. I always say, I used to work for corporates for more than a decade. Then I left my job for my passion, and from my birth I never wanted to climb Everest. I haven't had about I never thought of climbing Everest from my childhood, kind of thing. But yes, like after getting inspiration from Lord Shiva Mahakal, I started my adventurous journey. I started my mountaineering. So, since 2013, I'm into climbing, and till then, I'm keep on doing something which is related either to mountaineering or trail biking, motorbike, stunt riding, all these adventures. So many times, when people ask how you want to introduce yourself, so I always used to say in Hindi like मैं पहाड़ चढ़ता हूँ, मोटर बाइक स्टंट राइडिंग करता हूँ, एंड कभी कभी माउंटेन से साइकिलिंग करता हूँ, या शॉर्ट में कहूँ तो ऐसे तमाम उल्टे कामों से मेरा सीधा संबंध है. So that's me. That's your friend Ratnesh.
All right,
Nice.
all right. It's glad having you, sir. Then we
Thank
have
you.
Mr. Keval Kakka, the man who climbed Mount Everest and Mount Lhotse in just 6 days, a record of its own. Then also Mount Lhotse is the fourth highest mountain in the world. He has recently received the Tenzing Norgay National Award award from the President of India. Congratulations, Keval.
Thank you so much.
And he's also the owner of Beyond Altitudes and Climb on Snow, where he organizes treks and provides safety gear and equipment respectively. He has climbed many peaks like Mount Diotibba, Mount Stock Hungry, Mount Manchalu, and many more. A very welcome to you, Keval.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it feels really good to be among my course mates and also my colleagues and mountaineering buddies who are doing so well in the field of mountaineering. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. The next we have our own BMSC Mountaineering Club alumni, Prats. Then she has climbed Hanuman Tibba and many other peaks, and she's known for her expeditions in the whole MC community. But there's some personal story I want to share with you all. So the first time I ever met Pratiksha was during my first year. There was a adventure movie screening in our college. I was just like some other random kid, didn't know what mountaineering was, didn't know what rock climbing was, nothing about all these adventure stuff. I just came into college, just want to study and all. Then one day it was just late in the evening. There was a movie screening going on from the mountaineering club, and my friends just called me in. And then I see Pratiksha sharing her experiences about her expeditions and all with others. And that is the first time I have ever come in contact with mountaineering. And she basically kind of inspired me and the others to join the club. And that is the time when I joined the club and got indulged in these activities. And thank you so much for doing that. And please keep doing that, Pratiksha.
Thank you, Shubham, for those kind words. Thank you, Shubham and Vidisha, for doing this initiative. And of course, Keval and Pandeyji for joining in. It's for me, it's more like I derive inspiration from friends and folks like this, and I would be more than happy to pass on this inspiration if it helps somebody else. So I'm glad you joined MC because of that. Good to know.
Yeah, best decision, one of the best decisions. All right, Vidisha, you can go ahead with your questions.
Yeah. Hello, guys. I hope you're doing good. So we are from BMSCE AMC. You know that. So like most of our seniors have completed their BMC and AMC. One of that is Pratiksha. So we are glad to have you, Pratiksha. My first question is like most of them wouldn't know the difference between a trek and expedition. So what do you tell about it?
Okay. In a very generic sense, so trek is anything that you do by walk. So you can have multiple day treks. You can have just 1 day trek or a 10-day trek or a 12-day trek. Basically, you walk. Expedition is more like a very extended. In trekking terms, you can say a very extended trek. But expedition is also used for cycling expeditions, or sometimes when you look in the army, you have army expeditions. So expedition is anything that's a long-term thing where you have a lot of planning and you have a structure to the whole thing. So I would say expedition is more like a
Planned,
elongated, yes, a planned and organized trek. And in terms of mountaineering itself, if you ask what expedition is, it would consist of some amount of trekking and climbing. So trekking and hiking, again, they are two interchangeable words. Some people say hike and some people say trek. Some people believe that hike is a shorter form of a trek, like you do a day's hike or you do a 3-day trek. And these are some words that you use colloquially. But when you say mountaineering expedition, it's where you have a mix of trekking and some amount of climbing. And when I say climbing, it has use of technical gear and equipment. And mostly it's spread over a good large amount of time, like for instance, a month or so. And yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Shubham.
Yeah, so many of us we have just at college level we just know like what hiking is. We just go for a 1 day treks, max 2 days, 3 days. And as a beginner, if somebody wants to get into expedition, what do you guys think is the pathway to that? Ratnesh ji, can you answer for this? Like, what is the pathway to getting into expeditions, and how do we start on it? Okay.
Oh.
Maybe Keval, you can answer that.
Yeah, so I would say, as Pratiksha mentioned earlier, it is an extended version. So it starts from trekking, and trekking is also part of an expedition. But there are many types of expedition. Like even in mountaineering, there could be a rock climbing expedition. There could be an Himalayan expedition. So to get into is to have knowledge about it, like in which terrain you're going, what all things will be required, how many days, what will be your route be. You plan your evacuation, your emergencies prior, that if in case things go wrong, then how will you evacuate, or what will be your rescue plans. So once you have planned all of this and you have aimed, say I live in the Sayadri, so I talk about rock climbing. There is one peak pinnacle called Telvela, which is 250 feet, and I have to climb that. So that is my aim, and I will plan accordingly. If I talk about Himalaya, say I would talk about Dev Tibba. So Dev Tibba is a peak for me, which is 6,100 meters. So if I have to go for an expedition, first I have to trek till the base camp. After trekking to the base camp, I have to organize a climb to different terrain, like negotiating crevasses, negotiating ice walls. Then there are huge bergshuns, etc. So then understanding the mountain, gathering resources from previous expeditions, and then planning the whole thing. So this is, how you understand, analyze, and then you train according to that. So every mountain or every expedition requires a different endurance, requires a different kind of power that you need to climb. And then once you set your aim, then you can train as per that and start your preparations.
Alright. But how do you suggest a beginner to start with it? Like, how does he like, if he wants
Yeah.
to be like you guys, what is his how does he
So
follow it?
personally, I would say when I started my journey, I did not directly jump into high mountains like for Everest. So there are two types of mountains. One is a technical mountain, one is a non-technical mountain. A non-technical mountain can also be beyond 6,000 meters. The altitude is not a criteria. So I would say there are peaks like Kangyatse 2, there are peaks like Zojongo in the Ladakh region, which are above 6,000 meters. There is a peak called Kanamo. There was Stok Kangri. So these peaks are about 6,000 meters. They are trekking peaks, but yeah, the altitude really matters a lot. So select such peaks which are challenging, introduce yourself to the altitude, and slowly and steadily build that chain. Once you are familiar with the altitude and you feel like okay, your body is responding well, and now you can move one step ahead, then choose some semi technical peaks like Mount Friendship is one of them. Then there is Mount Rudragera, then there is Bhagirathi 2. So many such peak. As I said, you have to do a detailed research on that and get some knowledge. Maybe read some books, or there is a Himalayan journal, which you can refer to. And also nowadays there is Google, which will help you partially to understand what is a technical, non-technical peak. And once you start personally going in, you will see where you lack or what improvements you can bring into your climbing. And once you do that, you can set up high aim. So when I aim for Everest, before that I climbed Mount Manasulu, which is world's eighth
Oh,
highest mountain. Then I did Mount Choyu, which was world's sixth highest mountain. And when I was okay, now my body is good enough to reach that altitude, so then I moved ahead. So I think you can start slow and steady. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you start from trekking. So go attain 10,000 feet, then go to 15,000 feet, then go to 17,000 feet. So slowly and steadily build that chain for you and make a ladder to the top.
all
Yes.
right, all
So
right.
in lines with what Keval said, I guess for beginners or for people who are completely unaware of mountaineering as such, a good start would be the basic mountaineering course.
Yeah.
So there are about 5 institutes in India that offer basic mountaineering courses throughout the year. Say they have about 6 courses throughout the year, and it's a 1 month long ordeal in the mountains, right? So that gives you a really good window to what lies beyond and what you can go forward and do. So I think that is a great way to step into mountaineering or expeditions, like you asked.
Okay, so you just told us about how do you plan for a expedition. So you guys carry a lot of like lightweight things, right? When you start your climbing. So how do you pack it? What are the preparation for that? Like you have a backpacking. So how do you prepare for that? Have you trained for that? Like for the backpacking? Just tell us about it. About few things about backpacking.
So basically, as Pratiksha mentioned, the mountaineering courses, it has a huge syllabus. Like we are taught about the equipments, we are taught about backpacking, we are taught about weather, and it is like an introduction. So basic mountaineering course is about your introduction in the mountain, how you can survive, how you should train yourself to survive. And yeah, backpacking is very one important lesson about that. I remember, I don't know Pratiksha remembers or not, but our sir said, okay, if your rucksack is packed well, then it is good, or else it will be a duksak. So yes, it is really painful, because obviously, if weight is not distributed, you can hurt your shoulders, you can hurt your back. Also, if the bag is not packed well, if the straps are loose, it could pull you behind with the weight.
Uh,
So each and everything in the mountains is very important, even the smallest thing. So that is the difference between a pro mountaineer and a beginner. That a pro mountaineer is always cautious about every small detail, that where you are keeping your rucksack, whether it will fall off or not. how you use your rucksack, how are the straps, what are the straps, if your gear is hanging out or not, whether it's placed properly inside or not, how much liters it should be. So it's a very vast syllabus, but I would say, the basic thing is, like the basic rule I would say is, pack your the things that you don't need often on the way, pack it downwards, put the weight towards your back, so that if your weight is towards your back, then it will support and you will not be pulled behind. And whatever accessibility, use the various partitions and pockets of the rucksack. So this is how you pack. And our sir used to say that, once you keep the rucksack on the ground, it should not
Should
fall off.
not fall down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thumb
it should
rule.
stand. Yeah, it should stand straight.
Yeah.
So that is, if it is
Right.
standing straight, you have packed it well and you can lift it well.
And
So
there
yeah,
should be no air gaps. You should
air
make sure there
gaps.
are no
So
air
you
gaps.
utilize the sack really well. There should be no wastage of space in between.
Okay, so when you started your first time of packing, you never made a mistake. Like, was it like always perfect?
Um, I remember
Because
one thing.
yeah,
I remember one thing is getting lots of scolding from my parents, because the moment I start packing my rucksack, I used to, spread everything in my room on the floor. As it was taught to us that, keep everything aside, make one list, and, put one by one items in your bag so that you don't miss out on anything. So yeah, I mean, it occupied lots of space and everything, but yeah, I mean, you make mistakes and you learn from it. So that is what it is about, that is how you learn. So at least I made lots of mistakes. I forgot things. I did not put it properly. But then during the expedition, you realize, oh, okay, this should have been here. This should have been there. That is how you learn and you come across and you improvise. So I
Yeah.
did. I don't know about Pratiksha.
Same here. Oh my God, totally. I had no clue. I mean, thank God to basic mountaineering course, I even understood where things should go, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we have no clue where things should go at all. Like, we got a really good idea. Like, so we used to put the sleeping bag at the bottom, like he said. That's something that you don't need throughout the day when you're trekking, right? So that goes at the bottom, and that's not heavy. And whatever is heavy, like we had our snow boots. So that used to be heavy, and that used to go right behind our backs, and our backs can take the most amount of load, right? That was the center of the entire rucksack, and then all the light and accessible stuff was on the top. So Keval, I don't know if you remember, I think this was the last fall-in Abhimas for basic course,
Yeah.
and we were heading out to the mountains the next day. Okay, so the previous day, you remember, right?
Yeah, I
So
do remember.
yeah, so the previous day we are all so excited. We got all new equipment. We packed everything. We learned how to pack, and then we packed our bags, and then we had kept it, and we had all we had a fall-in.
Fall in. Yeah.
And yeah, we had a fall-in, and the instructor goes, "Acha, so all your bags are packed." We're all like full joy. We're like, "Yes, we are all packed." And then great. So what have you become now? He asked. Okay, and then we are all like, "Mountaineers. We become mountaineers." And then he's like, "Ghode ban gaye ho." Chalo,
Mules.
that's all he said,
Khachar,
mules.
khachar. They say khachar. They are like, now
So
we
it's
have
like,
become khachar.
yeah. So that's all
Yeah.
it is finally.
Keval, like, how do you manage the cost of this expedition? Like, how do you plan it? About the
Like,
cost.
yeah, this may be one of the things why many people hesitate to start expedition. Like, you have to buy costly gears, then carry it properly, or maybe sometimes you can rent it, but not many people know about it.
Yeah, and
How
most
does
of
it
them
work?
wouldn't like parents wouldn't support, or there wouldn't be
Support
much
about it.
support.
Why
Yeah.
is it
So
so
what do you
costly?
tell?
Why do
How
you
did
do?
you start it? What was the cost like when you started the first time? Just tell us about it.
Yeah, so obviously mountaineering is considered as one of the most expensive sports. And nowadays, before it was like, there were not much technology into use, and we had those heavy boots and the wooden ice axe and everything. But nowadays, it comes with a price, definitely, that you're using technology to ease you, or maybe I would put it like to make you more safer in the mountains. So light and fast, that we say. But three M's of mountaineering that we have been learning: mind, muscle, and money. So money plays a very crucial role. It is not easy to manage the travel, it is not easy to manage the equipments, plus the high altitude gear, the high altitude food, so many days in the mountain. If I talk about Everest, suppose, so Everest itself costs around 20 to 25 lakhs per person, excluding the
Wow.
gear. If you talk about the gear, it would cost you another 4 5 lakhs. You beg, borrow, steal, whatever you do. So yeah, when I was like when I started mountaineering, it was a huge like, I used to save some money, and I used to manage small expeditions in the beginning, because nobody knew me. Who is Keval? Nobody knows. And why should we support you? That is what the companies ask for. How can we trust you? Basically, it's about trust. How can you be good for our brand? If it's about association with a company, you need to live up to their image and expectation. Suppose I am being sponsored by Tata, so why would Tata make me and his face? Because Tata has earned so much of reputation over the years. So you need to prove to Tata that okay, you can do well and you can keep up to their reputation. So then I started funding my expedition. I used to gather some amount and work day and night and jot money for my expeditions. And I used to do alpine climbing. So alpinism is something which is pure form of climbing, and it requires very less amount of money. So, poor climbers usually jump into working hard. You compensate for that money with your hard work and your skills, where you don't have to be dependent on the guide, etc. And you yourself can do your cooking. You can do your be your own potter and mules. You can be your own guide. So three in one, you save lots of money there. So that is what I started with. I did my mountaineering expeditions by saving that money and doing that. And slowly and steadily, when you start building trust with companies and you have a good experience over the years, then they start trusting you. So I approached big companies, I mailed them, I met their CEOs. I don't know, this fact would be very astonishing, but before I jumped to Mount Manasuru, that is the first 8,000 that I did, I was rejected by 182 companies for sponsorship.
Oh,
And there were days when there was one company. When I went, I was made to sit outside. They said the sir is busy with a meeting and he will meet you in the evening. So I said okay, so I sat there for the whole day. Then I came in the evening and he said today it's not possible, maybe tomorrow. So I came again tomorrow, and for 7 days I did the same. And on the eighth day, the company manager, he told me, oh, we are really sorry, but we are not into mountaineering and we cannot help you out. But he wished me luck. He said, all the very best and best regards to you. So one thing I learned, then that there is always something positive in it. And yeah, I mean, I got rejected by so many companies, but what did not end was my passion. And some or the other, how I over the years managed to survive and make it. I kept on meeting people, kept on approaching them, kept on talking to them, kept on sharing my new ideas, my plans of in the mountains, and something clicks. So don't give up. Keep on trying. Keep on trying. Yes.
Yeah, I
Great.
think one good thing to learn from Keval is resilience. Never give up. Seriously.
yes, 180 to complete is not an easy job.
Amazing.
Hats off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but otherwise, if you guys want to start from scratch, what I would say is with respect to equipment itself, initially you can go ahead and rent some equipment. There are a few places, even in Bangalore and even in Delhi, IMF itself, they all rent mountaineering equipment. You should just make sure that they're good condition when you're renting them. So that's the beginning of it, when with respect to equipment and all that. Of course, like Keval mentioned, travel and everything has to still be, sort of self-funded, or if you're, good enough to find yourself a sponsor, then that's even great. But with respect to owning your own equipments, you don't have to jump at it in the first shot itself, right? You should let the sport grow into you, right? And then slowly over time, you can start collecting equipments. You can start with first personal equipment, like your own jacket, like your own down jacket, and then your own boots, harness, and then slowly you can move on. Yes, helmet. Slowly you can move on to the more technical equipments, right? So it's something that grows over you over time. It's not a at one shot you need to buy everything to be able to trek or do an expedition. That's not how it is.
What will be the cost of even if you rent, like for a day, or how is it? If you rent,
Basic idea.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah, so basically, I would say like my company that the store that I opened, Climb On.
Climb
So
On store.
here we do lots of mountaineering activities, rock climbing, we do rappelling, and there are, like various events, also people pursuing mountaineering. So what I thought was, yeah, it is difficult, as you said, to find the gear and the right thing. So my store, what it does is it gives you equipments on rent for mountaineering, like climbing boots, then you have tents, etc., and everything. and we see to it that the rates are kept very minimal. If you want it on a per day basis, we give it to you on a per day basis. But as we know, the Himalayan mountaineering is like of extended for days, and it is not sure whether it will last for a month or 20 days or what, as per the weather conditions, etc. So what I give them the best package is, like if they are going for an expedition, I give it for a month or so, and they return at any moment, and I charge them very less. And if they are taking per day, I give them both the options is like open to them.
Got it, got it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you can rent
welcome back.
equipment from, even from
Yeah,
mountaineering institutes. I feel like there are multiple places where you can rent equipment from. So, yeah.
Keval, do you just like is it like your climbers, or is it like confined to only Mumbai, or do you like give anyone, like if I'm staying in Bangalore, if
yeah.
somebody has to go in and around somewhere near the south?
Yeah, we can. So what we do is, there was one climber. She was from Hyderabad, and she was
Okay.
going to Aconcagua, and she did not have her climbing boots. So she called me up and she wanted. So yeah, if it is available with us, we would also courier to you anywhere in
Okay.
India if you want it. Yeah, I mean we will take a small amount as a deposit with your ID cards, and then we will like send it to you via courier or something.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome back, Pandey.
And I'm so sorry, guys. Like because of the poor network while traveling, so I had this internet issue. But now everything is fine. I'm back to my room. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So there's a question for you, Pandey. Like some people who climb Everest, like from my view, I've seen some people they use oxygen tanks. But whereas some people, like there was a lesson in our Hindi textbook, I guess it's Veer Radha Sherpa, I guess I'm not sure, but they climbed using, without using an oxygen tank. Why is there like some people need it and why some people can manage without it?
Uh, to be on a very honest note, like yes, like you find many climbers like who climb not only Everest but multiple peaks which are above 8,000 meter without oxygen support. Now, what 8,000 meter is? So, in layman language, above 8,000 meter, it's like
Yeah,
a
that zone.
thin air zone, like no oxygen is there. So like, and especially if you see people like who are living in high altitudes, especially if we speak about like the Sherpa, the ethnic group of people living already at 5,000 meter height. So it's like already their lungs are like pumped up. So once, like I was joking with my Sherpa, like so once they were saying, yes, we climb very quickly, we do very easily. So Pandeyji, can't you see like how fast we go? Then I just said on a casual note, I said, Ki you Sherpas have a big lungs, so you climb very fast. We Indians have a big heart. We go slowly, we climb gracefully. So we carry grace in our climbing. So yes, like it all depends on the level of your training, or obviously the altitude thing. Like people, like for us, we all are more or less, we all are from the sea level. So for us, it take at least a week's time to get acclimatized for high altitude, bare minimum. So the more you lives in high altitude, wherein the people who are already living at 14,000, 15,000 feet, so for them it's bit easy. Their lungs are more supportive. And again, especially for Sherpa and some other renowned climbers from across the globe, when they have multiple times to such altitude, then they are very well aware of the environment. They know how to handle this thin air, because there are multiple challenges. There might be like altitude sickness. So there are multiple acute mountain sickness symptoms in the body. So for climbing Everest or climbing any peak which is above 8,000 meter, I always advise people, yes, either you should have prior experience to 8,000. If you have been to 8,000 before, if you have exposure to that mountain, then it would be easy for you. For the first time, without having that prior experience or that kind of knowledge or that kind of supportive body, if you are just taking a try, you are going to high altitude just for the sake of like what do I say, to be a more heroic event. So for sure you are going to risk your life, and that's not the appropriate thing. And if like I'm missing something, then I have my two very prominent mountaineers sitting here with me, like Prarthana, sorry, Pratiksha and Kakata and Keval. So
See,
they
it
can
is
very well connect.
अपना प्रार्थना को बहुत मिस कर रहे हो. I'll add her on this call after this.
I'm sorry, guys. Yeah.
I would say, like, as you mentioned, without climbing without oxygen. So it is for some people, the next step. Like if I talk about myself, if I'm comfortable climbing with oxygen and I want to see how does it feel, because some mountaineers, in the past have said that, you raise your bar to the mountain and don't bring the mountain down to yourself. So, when you are using oxygen, you are creating an artificial false environment, and it is not exactly now 8,000 meters. Your body is like above 6,000 or 7,000 meters is the amount of oxygen that you take. So, for them, it is like more of challenging and accepting it their way, that how their body will function or how they will, be able to come across that. So, people usually who do that, they are looking for new challenges and they want to do something challenging. So I think that is the mindset of each and every individual climber that matters, and that is why they take such decision. Because on Manaslu, I wanted to climb without oxygen, so I went till 7,980 meters without oxygen. But unfortunately, my Sherpa became sick, and from there on, we were just left with one spare bottle, and we had to rush. And obviously, without oxygen, your body is very slow from your normal speed, and you start experiencing more of cold and everything. So then I decided, okay, now I'll turn the oxygen on, and then we move together. So yeah, it is something fun. You're trying and you're focused and you're constantly thinking that how will your body do and what you should do to keep going on. So it is a really good experience.
True.
My 2 cents on this, I missed the question actually, but I think it's about using supplemental oxygen on mountains, right? And not using. Okay, so this basically boils down to the concept of acclimatization, which is very, very important in the mountains. Anything beyond 3,000 meter or 10,000 feet is considered as high mountains. Okay, so anything beyond that, you will have to tread carefully, and you will have to make sure that your body is acclimatized at every stage. And like the golden thumb rule is that you only climb about 1,000 feet higher than where you slept the previous night. So basically, you make sure that you sleep only 1,000 feet higher than where you were. But in the no, yeah. So actually, it's 1,000 feet. But in the in the Himalayas, the terrain is such that you can't follow this golden rule to the dot. So what we have tweaked it to about 3,000 feet, which still works because there are a lot of other exercises that go around acclimatization. Like you do a lot of acclimatization hikes when in each of your camps, right? So you go higher and then you come back down to sleep in your tents, which are set at a lower level. So these are ways that you make your body used to the lack of oxygen. So as you gain altitude, the air pressure reduces, so the amount of oxygen in the air is less. For instance, if you see like Everest base camp, that is about 5,000 odd meters, and that has 50% less oxygen than what you would find in the absolute sea level, right? So you can imagine that is 50% less oxygen. So your body must exert that much more, right? And it only starts there. That's only the base camp. You still have the entire mountain ahead of you. So what the like for mountaineering, the most basic thing is acclimatization, and you have to listen to your body. And as you keep going higher and higher, you have to make sure that your body is acclimatized. If it shows any symptoms of acute mountain sickness, like Pandeyji mentioned, there are multitude of symptoms, and it's only a small symptom that your body has to notice. And then there are steps that you need to take with respect to acclimatization, with respect to if you're how ill you are, and whether you are going to be fine that night or the next day, or you need to be evacuated back down and things like that. So it's a completely process oriented thing, this entire acclimatization. So what you are speaking about without using supplemental oxygen, doing like the highest peaks in the world, like that is like next level, right? You should get there very slowly. There is no hurry. You should in fact never hurry there. The slower you go, the better acclimatized you are, and the better mountaineer that you will be. That's what I feel.
Okay. Ratnesh Ji, hello.
Yes, please.
So you had climbed Everest. While you were traveling, there was an earthquake, and then followed there was an avalanche. So you went missing for some time. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
You went missing for some time. So what were the thoughts that we keep coming in your mind? How did you feel at that point of time?
The best part about your passion is like you never regret about anything. And again, when it comes to adventure sports, like adventure sports by default means where life risk is involved. So the moment any one of us, like whether it's Keval or Pratiksha, any one of us entered in the climbing, we know yes, there's a risk involved in this subject, and this was accepted gracefully by our own self only. Then only we entered into this sports, and one has to be calculated enough to how to handle the risk. Like there's a very minute difference between confidence and overconfidence. So, and again, in mountaineering, always there's a golden thought which like our mountaineering instructors taught us, like it's climbing is all about elimination of fear and willingness to live. So I still remember during the earthquake, when we got stuck, like somewhere around 22,000 feet. Like we completed our first rotation to Everest summit. So it was our second rotation. So like for 3 days we got stuck at Mount Everest, like Camp 2, and unfortunately 21 climbers died as well. For 3 days, like because of the earthquake, the avalanches got triggered, and there were two avalanches. One was from the front mountain, which the mountain which was in front of Everest, like Pamori. So this was the mountain which triggered avalanche and which destroyed the whole base camp, Everest base camp. Wherein there was another avalanche which came from Nuptse. Like there's one more mountain named Nuptse, which came from Nuptse side, which was triggering towards our camp. But somehow we were like lucky enough, and none of us like got injured. But yes. Those were most of the like toughest days of my life, because first of all it was an earthquake, then avalanche, then after effects, like for multiple times, like you were all like sleeping above the glacier, so all the time the after effects were coming. So for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, continuously the same feeling, like are we going to live or not. But it was never like there was no regret in mind. I always thought one thing, yes, like my like teachers taught me, like you should eliminate the fear. So all is well, all is well. And all the time you have that like attitude. So one of my close friends who's from Bangalore, only one of the finest rock climbers of India, CM Praveen, so he is from Bangalore. So he was like with me during Everest expedition in 2015. So we both were enjoying the heat of the moment. Ki, yes, we are the lucky ones who got this love from mountain, and we are seeing these extreme odd situations. So those situations rather making us like weak, even we got more stronger and stronger, and we know how to handle situations. One thing was in our mind, like how to utilize our things, our food, our clothing, our medical things, in case like we were not aware like whether we are going to stay here for more days or what. So yes, it was one of the toughest moments, but we enjoyed a lot of learning. And for sure, very frankly I can say yes, like it was a bit frightening. So you can't say कि हमें डर नहीं लगता. Yes, डर लगता है, but you have to overcome your fears. It happens, and the moment you overcome your fears, for sure success is yours. At any point आप कभी भी कहते हैं ना वो हवाबाजी नहीं करते हैं. You can't do any nuisance in the mountains. So you always take calculative steps. You always take calculative these risk in life, and for sure you grow in your life.